And in our Spotlight section this week, I'm delighted to say that we're joined live by Aadar Bhalinge, who is the developer of the very new Audible Vision OCR app. Welcome, Aadar.
Thank you, Ed and Warren and team for having me here.
Warren, over to you.
Aadar, thank you so much, my man. We are so thankful that you are joining us today and with Audible Vision. Aadar, we love Audible Vision, and we want you to tell us a little bit about how you got started, what led you to starting Audible Vision, and whether or not you have any blind people that you know, that kind of thing. What really made you got started
Sure.
on Audible Vision?
Yeah, Warren. So I have high myopia since childhood, and as we know that around only 10% of people around the globe have high myopia in terms of -10 and more, right? So I can see clearly with help of my spectacles, but without spectacles, it is almost impossible to imagine having a normal life and perform the day-to-day tasks. So hence I always felt that, and being a technologist myself, I always felt that technology can certainly help people having uh, who are dealing with the difficulties with the sight, and how can we leverage it to help people be self-reliant, because that is the key. Because with self-reliance comes confidence, with confidence comes opportunities, and that's what is the real need. So with that thought in mind, I felt that uh, being technologist, I used to develop a lot of Android apps earlier. Why not create something using machine learning, artificial intelligence, and which will help the community become self-reliant? And that's how Audible Vision came into existence.
So let's talk about Audible Vision, just in case people really don't know what we're talking about. Let's talk about the app. Just in case someone is hearing, "Hey, what the hell is Audible Vision?" So tell them what Audible Vision does.
Right. So Audible Vision is all about how experiencing the real world through the voice, and it will, as I said, it will help gain self-reliance in various daily routine tasks, and as well as pandemic safety. So with the help of Audible Vision, you will be able to identify a given product, and you can just hold the product in front of the camera, and the application will try and identify what is the product name, because typically a product will have a lot of text on it, right? So here the challenge was to identify only a specific text within the plethora of text, and to identify the particular product. So that is one of the examples, and that we have termed or coined as smart text. So similarly, there are other features like document reading. So it is a simple document reader. You just hold on a particular letter, a bill, and it will read everything. It is not like your smart text where it will try to identify something, but rather it's simply reading a book, reading a article, reading a newspaper, and that's the document feature that the application has. Quickly talking about a couple of other features are like, as I said, pandemic safety. Although I know that in many of the Western countries now things have been much better and relaxed, but still for the rest of the world, even where I am living right now in India, we still have to follow the rules and regulations and the masks, because things are still not settling up here in terms of COVID. And that's the reason we felt the necessity that if someone in front, if the person is wearing a mask or not, whether it's a delivery person, or as simple as you are going through a commute, and you want to understand whether people are wearing mask or not, whether there are a lot of crowd there or not, where you potentially want to avoid that crowd, and that is the feature that is provided by the mask detector. And apart from that, you can do a couple of more things like finding a particular product. So whether you are at a mall, or whether you are looking for a particular product within your refrigerator or kitchen, just speak it aloud. For example, I want to find out dairy milk, and it will go ahead, and as you move the camera across, the application will start beeping only when it is able to identify the dairy milk by its text. So that helps not only just for product finding, it will also help in finding the shop names. If you're at a mall, you particularly are interested in elevator or the exit sign, and then all of it, right? You can just imagine the various scenarios that can be taken care by this particular feature. So these are the few features which will help in the daily routine, and that's what the whole Audible Vision application is all about.
So, actually, as a person who's not, from the US or like who doesn't speak English as their main language, I'm really
Mhm.
curious to know what languages does the application support besides English?
So yeah, so currently the language support is for English and Hindi. Hindi, and there is a story behind it. I mean, as we know that from statistics perspective, almost one third of the community is from India and the sub-Asian countries. So initially we just have introduced Hindi as a second option language, but with time we will certainly add more and more languages to it.
So, would you tell us about some of, I know there's a challenge that we're going to be talking about here, but what were some of the initial challenges that you have when writing this program?
Correct. So challenges typically in terms of there are, I will categorize it in two ways. So one is the technical challenges that I'm facing and or we face during the development, and the second is overall how to make the application sustainable over a period of time. So talking about the technical challenges, this is a program which heavily relies on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the possibilities are infinite with this current technologies. But at the same time, we have to be careful about it because it has its own implications as well, and that's where we say or call it as ethical AI, artificial intelligence. And what does that mean? So let me just briefly explain you. So we have a expiry date feature here. An expiry date feature in itself is very complicated in its nature, technicality, and that's the reason if you see any of the stores, on the Google apps, you won't see a single application which tries to identify expiry date because expiry date comes or expiration. That's the way in West we say that, right? Expiration date. Uh, it comes in a plethora of formats. Sometimes it will be dash, sometimes it will be slash, there will be spaces out there. At times the month will be first, date will be later, vice versa. The formats might be appended with zeros or not. So you can imagine the amount of permutations and combinations that this particular program has to deal with when it is trying to identify expiration date. And that's where we have clearly mentioned that this is still in an experimental phase, and make sure that you reconfirm it with a human around you, human person around you, because it is still in R&D. And the reason, as I said, right, although we have artificial intelligence, machine learning, the problem itself is so much complex that it will take some additional time and resources to get to that accuracy. And that's where we say it is as ethical AI application. That is, maybe the application will, if the application is not sure of the result, it's best that the application does not give any result out. Instead of spitting a wrong result, let's not even talk about the results there. And that's what we are trying to do. That and we have got that feedback from many of the users as well. They say, you know what, Aadar, when I try to check the expiration date, it just beeps. So what does that beep means is that yes, the program has certainly identified that the expiration is somewhere in this area across the whole product, but till the point it is not 100%, or at least I cannot say even 100% because it's all probability, but good enough amount of confidence. Till the program is not having a decent amount of confidence, it will not go ahead and speak it aloud that the expiration date is XYZ. And that's the challenge that we are still facing. We are working towards it. We are taking help of some of the other developers as well here to make it more accurate. And that's a very generic problem statement in general when we are trying to solve complex issues with artificial intelligence. So that's where we are, but we are still progressing towards it.
Just to say, Aadar, that expiry date is absolutely fine here in the UK. So good,
Okay.
good choice of
Yeah.
labeling from our perspective, anyway.
Right. Because Sam, one of my users from US, he actually gave me that feedback that
Yeah,
expiration
it's
is something that
expiration
they
in the
have.
US. That's right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and in terms of from the real estate perspective, expiries is much quicker and short. So I decided there. But yeah,
So you guys actually have something called expiry date instead of expiration date?
Yeah, that's right. It's expiry date.
yeah,
I learned something because I thought it was a typo,
No.
yeah,
This is crazy. Now, okay, now really, I like that idea about finding out what the expiration or expiry date is because I give you a little story. So now and then in the evenings when I'm drinking my tea, I have a little dash of milk in there and trying to be like Edward or something crazy like that. Um, and I put this milk in my tea and it just kind of not so good. And I said to my wife, hey, I'm not sure. That milk, oh, you took the one on the other side. I said, yeah. She said, I was going to dump it off. I forgot. Oh, doggone it. I had it in my tea.
right, exactly. No, you're very much apt, Warren here, and that is something. So before actually starting the development, when I had this, because this is an idea which I had in my mind from years, but because of responsibilities and other priorities, we always kept on pushing it later. But when I finally decided to jump into the actual development, I actually tried to take some feedback from the user community on Facebook, YouTube, and this is something that popped up as one of the suggestions, and that really grabbed my attention, and I started looking at it. And I saw that there is a huge, certainly there is a gap in the existing applications that are offering any of such features, and I didn't see any, and that's where I started working on this. So,
Great. So now let's move to the next challenge that we have observed, and hence the reason we contacted you, and you were so gracious
right.
to come on here and talk with us about the app. And this has to do with the fact that with TalkBack running, nothing happens. I mean, I could change my mode, or for instance, if I wanted to switch to the defined, or yeah, I think define or any of the modes really, or document mode, where it instructed to tap on the screen to read the document. Of course, with TalkBack running, that's the current problem we have. With TalkBack running, it doesn't work. One has to actually unload TalkBack in order to be able to use the app. And so are you working on that to make it compatible with TalkBack? Because since this is going to be for the blind, we're going to be running our screen readers when we run it. Or else you have to put in a message that says to be able to use it, unload TalkBack when the app launches.
Right. So first of all, I would like to thank you and to bring this to my attention. Similarly, I got a couple of more feedbacks from the local users as well, and it was unfortunately on my part, I was not aware that the talkback is something which is so commonly used. And but the moment I got that feedback, I did tested it on my Android phone immediately, and I realized yes, absolutely, it is. You won't be able to interact with the application at all if the talkback is enabled. So first of all, thank you for bringing that to my notice. And as soon as I realized that, we started working towards it. Already the development is complete. The talkback compatibility is added now to the application. We are in a testing phase right now, and hopefully by next week, the update should be rolled out. And just to remind you guys, I mean, this is beta version, so yes, it is still about to be a final version yet. So such sort of feedbacks are absolutely valuable for us to make this application better and better in the quality. So certainly look forward for the next update by end of the next week, and certainly the compatibility should be there.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about sustainability. Of course, you're working on this thing, takes a lot of your time. I know that currently in this current form, it's a beta for anyone to try out. What are we looking at, down the road? I'm talking about moolah-wise, monetization of the app. Is there going to be like a subscription or a one-time payment, annual, monthly thing? Are we thinking anything down the road concerning this type of subscriptions or anything of that?
Correct. So there are multiple business modes that we can say through which we can monetize the application. And the reason we did not went ahead with a simple annual or monthly subscription, and that's the only option, because because as we know, and as I even mentioned earlier, almost one third of the community is from India, and again, a large number of people are again from the sub-African Asian countries where the community is living a life which is below poverty line. And imagining even the $10, which is usually $10 annual fee, which seems to be reasonable and even competitive as compared to the other applications as per our research in the market, it is still much higher for this particular subset of people. And our vision is to make sure to have this application reached out to as much as people, irrespective of the monetary limitations. And that's where we believe that we have to go with the two-way route. One is the regular subscription based, and you can have an annual $10 fee, and you can use the application without any ads or so. And the second mode of monetization was how to make it available for free with the ads, which should be non-intrusive at the same time, and yet provide with some sort of little bit of monetary benefits from it. Because at the end, this you can imagine, right? The ads will be typically at the in a banner mode at the very
Bottom.
bottom
Yeah.
bottom of it, so that they are not intrusive. uh, but at the same time, just having those at bottom, obviously people are used to it, and hardly anybody is going to touch that. So whatever will be, it will be really only display purpose only. And that monetization is certainly not a very good idea of business model. But at the same time, the intention here, this is a social, innovative uh, initiative, and we are not only money minded here. And that's the reason we wanted to make sure to give that community who are living currently below poverty, because that's the way it is said, that poverty is the cause and effect both of the blindness in such areas of these countries. And we have to make sure that the application, and to your surprise, I mean, most of the people here, we did that research as well, they have accessibility to Android. So maybe they might be even struggling. And this is something, a feedback which I've got from some of the volunteers who are working with the community very closely, that most of the people are still having an Android, even though they might be having some financial challenges. They make sure, because technology and mobile has become a part of daily life, become a part of our own life now. It is not really anything different. So fortunately, accessibility to Android is still there. So it's just a matter of providing a means through the application to reach out to them, and they can start leveraging it. So that's the second mode of monetization that we have thought of.
Now, let me take liberty here before I ask my next question, and that's to say that you guys do have a crowdsource funding page located at the following URL, and that URL is https://impactguru.com/fundraiser/help-audible vision. That address again is https://impactguru.com/fundraiser/help-audible vision. I encourage you guys listening to this podcast to inform your friends and neighbors about this funding source so we can all have a good thing. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about the document mode, and I think that's the one that I'm kind of liking a lot. Would you be thinking about maybe implementing a situation or feature here that after I'm done with recognizing a document, maybe I want to save that document, or maybe I want to share that document with some other app? Say I want to send it to someone on an email, or I want to send it to someone via Telegram. Would there be a feature, say, share or or copy or something like that?
Correct. Yep. And that's a very valuable feedback, Warren. Absolutely. That is something that is in our to-do list. Uh, right now, I cannot uh, precisely say that when that feature will be out, but yes, uh, sharing the captured document with some other applications is one of the important features, which usually document apart from reading you will like to do, and like WhatsApp or Facebook or otherwise. So certainly that feature addition is in pipeline, and whenever it is ready, you'll certainly notify.
So I have one question regarding like this currency. So in
Mhm.
India, especially if you know that RBI always keeps changing the
Yes.
currency size and the note size and coin size. So does the app have currency recognition, or is there a feature in the to-do list?
Yes. So Austin, you are precisely right, and I feel currency recognition not only just in India but in anywhere, usually that would be a helpful feature. And if you see some of the other applications in market, they already have this. The reason we intentionally kept it at a later stage in our to-do list or pipeline is because we felt that we wanted to first go ahead with our niche, unique ideas. Otherwise the community will again feel that this is like typical other application, and what's the value addition. So we have kept that as a later phase, but certainly it's in our to-do list and will be rolled out.
One feature I was really excited about and I thought was markedly different from some of the other apps was the Find tab. Now, I've got my own sort of little use case ideas for it, but I wonder if you could tell us what your purpose was in implementing that and how you envisage it being used.
Right. And so the find, yes, and if you see most of the applications, what they try to find is they also have the find feature, but what do they usually do is find a chair, find a staircase, find a table, find a computer, and that's a typical machine learning model they try to implement, and uh, and again that is certainly helpful in a variety of use case. But as you mentioned, most of the other application already has it. So what's the value add that we are trying to provide here? And that's where we felt that finding a particular object or a place or a shop or a product or a particular area of interest, like, well, as I mentioned, the exit door or elevator. How can you do that using, because the objects will keep on increasing forever, and that machine learning, the typically identifying an object in itself is a slow path to reach there. So what our thought was that with find text feature, you just specify the text. It's because text is everywhere, whether you are at home, whether you are at shopping mall, whether you are on a street. You have shop names, you have product names. They are not going anywhere, and their shapes are not going to change. It is a text after all, whether it can be English or Hindi or anything else. So so in our mind, the use case was, if somebody is in a kitchen, wanting to find a particular product, let's say a particular smoothie or a particular masala. In the Indian kitchens, you will find many. So how do we identify? Just put up labels there in plain English, and you will be able to identify a particular product right away. You go to shopping mall, and when or in the grocery shop, and there are multiple products out there. So you just, instead of trying to hold each and every product and try to identify using smart text feature, why not simply put out the name in the find feature, and just move around the camera, and whenever it identifies the product of your interest, it will start beeping, and you will be, that gives you a sort of a shortcut instead of going through the lengthy process of smart text each and every product per se. And the final one is the navigation. So whenever you are trying to search for an exit door, or whenever you are trying to search for particularly an elevator, or similarly, one of the use cases one of our users mentioned is during the when they are out and they want to particularly find a men's toilet room, and that's where they will be, that it will be much easier now for them to identify which is the way. So these are some of the use cases which we are hoping that will be solved using the find feature.
Yeah, and it was that very last one that I like the sound of. For someone who spends a lot of time in bars, some of which I haven't been to before. That idea that you can find the toilet or the restrooms, as Warren would probably say, relatively easily by use of the fine text. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
So, talking about that finding text, Adder, I see the usage like one finding that bathroom, or maybe I'm trying to find a text on a given document. I want to find the word fish in this document, of course. So, when it bips, it'll that tells me, yeah, I have found fish. I'm looking for the word fish, and I have found fish. Would there be, I know this is probably, too much of a wishful thinking, but would it be possible to maybe sometime say, hey, that word fish is near the bottom of the page, or it's in the middle of the page? I'm looking for the bathroom and it says the word bathroom is to my left. Something like that. Could it something that you guys could look into it and see if that's something that you guys could implement? I know it's a
Sure.
huge challenge.
No, so I think that's a very fair, suggestion, and keeping in mind earlier thought use cases, right? So the whole intent was the moment you move your camera, and let's say whenever we say the exit or men's toilet, restroom, that direction it was sufficient considering the scale of the real world use case that we are trying to find. But what you are suggesting, Warren, is a very unique use case where we are in a very limited span of a textbook, and then you are trying to identify what is the potential location. So we did not consider that during this feature development, but this is something we'll certainly consider, and we'll try and see how we can accommodate that.
Great. Let's talk about now some very important feature. And I know using AI and all of that, this may not be feasible, but let's talk about, would this be able to work offline, or it has to be connected all the time?
So for most of the tabs, it works offline, except for the find tab. But now we are also working towards it. The moment that we are trying to make it compatible with TalkBack, now an option will be available through which you will be able to input the text using the text box and just hit find button. So with that, the offline capability will also be enabled. So in short, it will be enabled for all the features.
That's beautiful because, not everyone always has internet connectivity. And most especially when we talk about developing countries, internet is important, and data is something that people jealously guard against. You don't want to be exhausting your data and all of that. And so
Absolutely.
I think that what you guys are doing and thinking about is a good thing, because for me, when I look at an OCR package, the first thing that comes to mind, we did a little episode on OCR packages in this class. I think maybe about 3 or 4 weeks
29,
ago.
I think.
Episode 29.
Episode
Yeah.
29, yeah.
Episode 29. And so for us, the criteria that we use is that, hey, does this thing work offline? It's because, for instance, if I'm going to look up my credit card, I wanted to read my credit card number, or I want to find what those barcode, those 3 digits are at the back. I wouldn't feel comfortable, having such a thing online. So it is key that we have the ability to read things offline.
Correct. And you brought a very important point here, Warren, and that is, usage data privacy. Because this is something we have been very mindful about. And while doing our market research, we did identify that there are a few applications which are available for free without any ads as well. But again, the usage policy, they are asking users that to accept the policy where they will have access to the usage statistics, etc. So the way we have built is absolutely private. Whatever is being done on the phone, on the application, remains with the user. We are not gathering any sort of data, so that people should be rest assured that whatever they are trying to do with the application, that is safe with them. So that is one of the keys. And second, as you mentioned, this is also built with a specific thought in our mind, because we are developing it for the developing countries, and for that community, the internet usage is not a very usual. It is not very inexpensive, sort of a daily routine, right, for them. And that's the reason we had to make sure that we keep the offline features as much as possible.
That's actually amazing. And actually, one of the things that I always think about when, I find a new OCR application or applications like that is what is the thing that actually kind of makes it stand up between the others? One of the things is actually like being able to work offline because, not every single application actually has this possibility. So that's a fantastic thing that you actually have this in mind. Um, Also about the
Thank
security of
you.
the credit cards. Like I'm one of people who doesn't like if I don't want someone to read me my credit card number. It's very important to actually. It's one of the crucial things. Is if I want the application to read it. And to be honest, when I thought about it, I was like, okay, so how would I, feel safe that I'm gonna let an application read me my credit card? And I
Right.
felt bad about it, to be honest. But
Yeah, which is true. Which is true. And precisely, Mariam, as you mentioned, right? I mean, user privacy is something that we have kept as our, unique niche, and where we want to certainly leverage and give more and more security to the users.
Yeah, it is important because it's just like any sighted person, they pull out their card. Not the whole world is seeing it, just them seeing it,
yeah.
right? And so the same thing for me as a blind person. I want to look up what my card is or what the barcode is. I don't want the whole world to see what my damn barcode is, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So it absolutely makes sense. So that's one of the criteria that we here at the Blind Android Users Podcast look for when we're looking for OCR packages. Does it support offline? And that's a big perk when uh, an app OCR package does. If it has that functionality, it's a big perk.
Absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
How about, you know, you tell us about how people could find you and all of that good stuff, whether people could, of course, we know we're going to be putting the play URL in our show notes. But is there other ways that people would contact you if you want them to contact you besides accessing your contact via the Play Store or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have a website which is very simple. You just have to type in audiblevision.in, and so I'll repeat myself: audiblevision.in, and with there you will be able to find our contact email as well, also about the what are the various features that are there, a link directly to the beta application on the Google Android store, and a quick video which gives us the perspective that why we are building this application and what are the demo features that are available. So that's a one shop stop, and all the information should be available there.
So that's audiblevision.in.
That's
So
correct.
if people are trying to go to your website, just remember that, guys, just audiblevision.in. And so as we're coming closer to ending this, let's give you another plugin, Adder. This is a great app, and we're looking forward to when this becomes something that works well with TalkBack. You've talked about the fact that you guys are working on it. Hey, how about when this thing gets better? How about you come back again? Let's talk about it. As it progresses and we have all the good stuff. Would you be willing to come back again, or did we scare you away? Would you come back again?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I mean, in fact, I even told you at the start of our conversation that this is certainly a great initiative that you guys have created, and the reason being, the moment I started working on Audible Vision, I saw quite a few good quality applications on iOS, right, and on the iPhones. And there are good applications on Android as well, no doubt. But the amount of applications, the subscription rates, all of that are not really for especially, as I mentioned, the developing countries, etc., uh, where you won't get any so many options of free application available to be downloaded. And that's where I personally feel Android, not just because I use Android, but I certainly feel that Android has equal capability as iPhone or iOS, to have more and more accessibility features inbuilt, which are there, like talkback, as we talked about, and which are very helpful. And users, as I mentioned, in India, Africa, sub-Asian countries, are primarily Android users. They cannot afford iPhones. That's a very simple fact out there. So with what you guys are doing is really helping create the awareness, creating the community, come together, help each other resolve, and inform each other what is available in this platform is extremely valuable. And that is, I'm sure that is going to help a lot many more people in coming days than what audience you have right now. So thank you for having this initiative in place.
I'm glad you touched on that because, we've had developers that, come on Android, started out on Android, and then, down the line, they kind of just abandon their early beginnings and just go to the other side. And it kind of pains my heart when a developer does that. It's like, hey, this is my home, but now that I'm here, I'm forgetting about my humble beginnings. And I hope that you don't you don't forget that this is your home. In other words, this is Android. Android is your home because to me, whether we like it or not, you people say, iPhone, but the majority of the world doesn't use iPhone. And like you've indicated, we have a lot of people either in the Asian and African countries and other places like that. Android is the most widely used platform. And so if we're going to be able to reach these blind people in these areas, we've got to keep things rocking on that Android platform.
Yeah, absolutely right, Warren. And although we are certainly planning to, develop the application already in place in iOS as well, but don't worry, we are not going to abandon the ship. This is our first start, and Android is something. The whole intent is different, right? As I mentioned in the beginning, monetization or having a lot of benefits is not really the intent of why we have started this, and hence that will continue, and will continue supporting and developing more and more in Android as well.
Oh, good. Because the monetization thing, I think, is a reason why some of the iOS developers who started out on Android leave blind users on Android behind. They look at their subscription data, and as you say, perhaps iPhones are more prevalent in the West. People there are more likely to be able to afford a subscription. So they say, hang on a minute, I'm getting, X thousand iPhone subscriptions and Y fewer thousand Android subscriptions. I'm developing the features first on iOS because that's where the money's coming in. Which is understandable if mildly depressing.
No, you are correct, Ed, because it's not just and only about the developers here. Because the way I believe the VCs and all, they also try and fund is where they try to see where is the monetization. And then when you are trying to go in a startup level rather than just being your own initiative, other people who are actually investing money in your company, their stake also is equally important. But yes, that's where we want to differentiate ourselves. We have a very clear vision, and those who will be aligned with our vision, we are more than happy to work with them. And but at the same time, as I said, we have to make this sustainable. Just me working towards it and having a few volunteers are not going to help. So certainly we'll need funding, and we'll need to make iOS to make it more financially sustainable application. But by no means Android is going to get a second gear or otherwise. So in fact, that's the reason even we were asking out that if people have any iPhones, spare iPhones, etc., we will develop towards it so that we can start monetizing from that. But Android is something that will be our priority, and we will continue to work towards it.
That sounds really good. And, that has to do with updates too, because I've seen, like I said earlier on, a developer starts out here on Android and then, branches into iOS and then updates the one on iOS and kind of forgets about us here on Android. And I'm like, I want to pull out that tiger to go after that developer,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it just happens because like there's been a common point that most blinds use iOS and developers tend to go that side because they think that they're gonna actually win over, or they would have much more popularity on the Apple Store more than the Play Store, which is definitely totally wrong, like with what's been happening lately, I guess.
Yeah, but in reality, when you look at it, because we don't have that data, we just have the Western data of, people using the mobile phone. But if you look in reality, I believe with all my heart that there are more blind people using Android than blind people using the iPhone.
Yeah, that's right, especially like in Asia and Africa and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's true, Warren.
Well, thank you so much for coming again. And like I said, when we want you back on here to talk about this thing as we go along, I hope you'll still be open to us.
Absolutely. More than happy, Warren and team. And thank you for having me here
Thanks
tonight.
so much. We're honored to have you here today.
Thank you so
Megan.
much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ed. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Warren. Have a great time ahead. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Good luck.
Bye.